Thanks. Thanks, Alexandra, and thanks to all of you for being here today. Really excited to have an opportunity to share some of my experiences with you as you're all entering your careers and thinking about where your interest in fashion will take you in your careers. So, as I was preparing for today, I ran across some research recently conducted by students at the Kellogg School of Business. And according to the research study, for presentations like this, the study claims that 25% of the people attending a presentation like this are fully engaged in the presentation and comprehend the content. Another 25%, while active listeners, fail to find real relevance in a meaningful way of the content at all, while 50% of the people attending admitted to being distracted and preoccupied by their own sexual desires and fantasies. So, I guess I found a little bit of refreshing thought in that, knowing that regardless of what I have to share with you today, at least half of you are going to enjoy the next hour. So with that, talk a little bit about my move from specialty retail in the apparel category into a consumer packaged goods brand like Benjamin Moore. And as the opportunity was presented to me, it was a bit of a departure for me, having spent most of the last 25 years in apparel retail and in fashion retail. And for me, the challenge was really, after being part of a brand like this, or being part of the fastest growing retail brand in America over a 5-year stretch of 2007 to 2012, I was entering a brand like this and wondering, where do you begin to transform a brand like this? And can this brand really become a fashion brand? So, where do you start with something like that? And, so as I thought about, why are we here today? We're here because we share a passion and an interest in fashion and fashion brands. Here to explore how fashion impacts brands in the non-traditional fashion categories. And for those of you preparing to enter new careers, how do you identify companies where those opportunities may exist? What do those opportunities look like? What trends influence how and where fashion emerges in those brands? And as a brand, how do you capitalize on those opportunities? So entering Benjamin Moore, that was part of the challenge for me. And I kind of defaulted back to brand research as the critical first step. Really starting to immerse myself into the brand, understand who is this brand, define the brand position, who we are and what we stand for. Do you really understand who your target audience is, or are there multiple segments of target audiences that you need to appeal to simultaneously? Do you know who they are, the size of those segments, the value or the potential value of those segments, so that you can deploy your resources accordingly? Do you know what's important to your customer when they're shopping your category? And how does your brand deliver on those attributes that matter most? So those were a couple questions that I kind of started the process with, and started to think about the marketing function for the brand, and who are we marketing to? Are we marketing to that aspirational edit point of the brand, or are we marketing to the target customer? And how do you do both with some brand consistency while engaging multiple segments? So I think that one of the classic examples of that, when you think about Victoria's Secret, the aspirational edit point of the brand is the Victoria's Secret fashion model. The target customer, not so much. So but she aspires to that position, how do you market to her while also marketing the brand and holding the brand at that aspirational level? So as I was entering this new world of consumer packaged goods and paint that I knew nothing about, started thinking about the industry in total, and thinking about it more in terms that that made sense to me. So if paint were a fashion brand, Farrell and Ball might be the Bergdorf Goodman, Benjamin Moore, more analogous to a Nordstrom, Sherwin-Williams, Macy's, and Behr's, kind of that entry Target brand. So that was just kind of a bit of hierarchy that we really kind of wanted to level set as we thought about holding the Benjamin Moore brand to a more aspirational level. A lot of the research that we also did suggested from a customer perspective that seemed to line up in terms of the kind of customer that is shopping multiple categories. So, the next big step for us was to really think about adopting a real research framework that would allow us to validate that brand position and understand what brand attributes really deliver a competitive advantage for our brand. Can you own that position in the marketplace vis-a-vis the competitive set? And do your customers see your brand in the same way you do? What's important to your customer when they're shopping that category? How's your brand deliver on those attributes that matter most? And how's your brand compare to the competitive set in delivering on those most critical attributes that matter most? So, a little plug for one of my favorite reads, Winning at Retail. It's a short, easy read, but the very premise of this book is really kind of built around the notion of the superlative of best. And using the EST of best, we attach that EST to several fundamental pillars of how retail operates. And with the premise that if you're going to be successful in retail, you have to own at least two of those fundamental pillars. So you think about different brands that and you can kind of figure out what they're going after. Walgreens, obviously, is kind of quickest. They're on every corner. It's about convenience to the consumer. Walmart, biggest and cheapest. That's what they're all about and the position they want to own. For Benjamin Moore, it was really about highest, hottest, and easiest. So that's not a description of a weekend date. It's actually a framework for brand research. So we built some est statements around what that pillar would mean to our brand, and then focused on the pillars that we intended to own. Hottest has the most desirable color assortment and color tools to inspire a project, and always in a color leadership position, making those assortments available before others. Easiest is about that store experience and really helping the consumer through that store experience. And for us, the position that we had held as a legacy brand since 1883 was highest quality. So that was a position that the entire industry recognized us for, and one that we felt was completely underserved and underappreciated in any of the marketing messages that we had around what truly differentiates Benjamin Moore as a brand. So that's kind of where we landed, and as a result of that, started to kind of challenge what would that brand look like if we started transforming this into more of a fashion brand. One thing that we were going to do is we weren't for everyone anymore. It's the very essence of specialty retail. When you hang a sign on your door that says you're a specialty retailer, you're announcing to the world, we're not for everyone. You shrink your audience in doing that, but you also elevate the importance of what it means to deliver for that target audience better than anyone else can, so that you earn the market share. So with that, we wanted to get away from a brand tagline that had been with the brand for a very long time. Benjamin Moore for everything that matters. We're not about everything. We're about one thing specifically, and we're going to be the very best at it. Once you get 50 miles west of the Hudson, there are a lot of people that don't know who Benjamin Moore is. So brand awareness was something that we were struggling with as well in new markets. And what kind of a brand is Benjamin Moore if you don't have some kind of mantra or brand tagline that clearly defines who you are and what you're about? And hence the adoption of our brand tagline, paint like no other. So paint like no other was paint as a noun, paint as a verb, and had that double entendre that really connected and clearly defined who the brand was, what we stood for. As we started thinking about paint as a fashion brand and comparing who the customer was that acquired Benjamin Moore for their home, and started to think about where else do they shop. I asked the question early on, is the consumer that's a subscriber to Vogue magazine a Benjamin Moore customer? Why aren't we marketing and advertising in Vogue? And people laughed at me. It's like, have you seen our paint ads? It's a paint can with lots of attributes about the chemical makeup of our paint. We don't advertise in Vogue magazine. And all of a sudden it's like, look at why can't we? This is our customer. Our customer's a Vogue customer as well. Can we connect with her where she is and connect in a fashion way to create an emotional connection to our brand? We also started with the premise that while you typically think of fashion as apparel, I tend to think of fashion a bit more intimately, and I think there's no place more intimate than your home. Everyone sees what you're wearing. Very few people get past the front door to really see what your home is about and what you're about as a function of that. So, ultimately, I think the home is the ultimate expression of the brand of you. And so building upon that, we wanted to bring fashion, interior design, and really elevate that part of our brand position. As a result, we launched a color leadership trend book where we were going to take a leadership role in the industry, connecting with the influencers in the industry, architectural design, interior design, and we would be the ones to define what fashion looked like in the home and what that position was going to be as you move forward. We engaged that audience and brought them in a way that was very collaborative, and as a result, as we understood what those fashion trends were going to be for the next 12 months as it related to interior design, we released an unbelievable audience of brand advocates that were all talking to their clients about Benjamin Moore and why Benjamin Moore was the right brand for them. So we launched this color and design leadership platform to really announce a color of the year and then this curated palette of adjacent colors that would really set the trend in the home. Well, how do you go about doing that? Where do you go to find out where fashion is going? You know the places when you're talking about fashion apparel, but for fashion for the home and interior design, slightly different. Maison France, the Union des Français du Chili. We also went to the Salon des Mobiles, the greatest and largest fashion show for interior design for the home. And through that process, we started to just take on this project of capturing what's going on in color. What are the color trends that are emerging? How are those trends being used in different design elements? What colors are relevant this year? How are they, how are they being used in furniture, in wall coverings, in accessories, and we explored different colors. We explored how texture's being used. So we basically went and just captured 1 million pictures and just digested what's going on in this industry around fashion trend and emerging trend for architectural and design communities. So through the process, you start to see a couple of interesting trends emerge, but no real dominant color. Lots of color grouping with the mid-tone pastels, lots of different treatment with opalescence, and the unique part of that is the combination of how that with light creates these unique color perceptions and what you can do with light and color to really change how fashion design comes together. Application was another thing that was emerging as, uniquely different than in years past, where you saw these real authentic and unique pieces that were being created that were one-of-a-kind type applications and processes and very unique pieces that emerged through this. Light has been big. You see what Philips is doing with their entire Hue platform and how they're using light to change color in your home and the various design aspects of that. It was the first time that we really saw the interaction of light with color make it to Maison and really become a trend that people were talking about. Finishes and the combination of different finishes, high gloss with matte, mirrored finishes and metallic finishes that really started to bring together this mixed medium. A little bit? Okay, gotcha. Yep, no worries. So the other trend was a real emergence of natural woods, unfinished natural woods, and the various colors of natural product that gets put together to create this unique, interesting piece, unlike anyone had seen before. So, all of a sudden, as we sat back and started digesting, what's the trend that's emerging and where are the most notable designers going with their trends? We kind of saw something that was somewhat uniquely different in 2016, and it was the whole notion that the boundaries of artistic expression and color were being challenged through application, through materials, through light, and as a result of that, we had some designers that were going so far beyond the traditional boundaries, and as we explored that notion, it's like, what are they trying to do with that? Because you're not going to bring an entire room of that into your home, but the notion that they were pushing things that far really suggested, they're looking for the white space that sets them apart from other designers and other competitors. So with that, we came back, we did an awful lot of research, and we landed on not only our color of the year, but also the curated palette that would be the complementary palette for the color of the year. So how do you go about announcing that? You invite 500 of your closest friends to a great party, and you have every interior designer in New York City at the event. You have every architectural designer. You have the media. You have every editor from any magazine that you want published in, and you throw a $300,000 party. So that's what we did. So we had this big reveal where we brought people from the party then into this other room that they didn't even know existed. And once there were these massive curtains. The lights went down in the room. The lights came up on the curtains. And we chose to announce Color of the Year with a video that we'd put together to really talk about how we went through the process and how we landed on the color we chose.
Hue, shade, tint, tone, value. Color. When light dances in varying combinations, our eyes experience color. The light twirls one way, and red appears. It steps and dips, and we see green. It swings, and blue emerges. Light makes the world visible, but color makes it beautiful. It's physics and biology and psychology, but it's also art. It's in the sunset that takes our breath away. It's found in the exotic destinations we long to visit. And we use its limitless combinations to transform our most personal spaces into sanctuaries. We know that color is the ultimate form of personal expression. Through our research and travel across the globe, we knew that the 2016 Color of the Year would be different than any that had come before. White is essential. It's universal. It defines and it frames. White allows us to appreciate the blue of the sky and the art on our walls. It was inevitable that we would recognize this hue as our color of the year. The transcendent, timeless, and versatile power of white is everywhere in every form. Elegant, honest, powerful. Simply said, simply white.
White? We heard that a lot. At the same point in time, it was obviously a very controversial choice, but it was a choice that the design community absolutely loved, and you know it was a choice that put us somewhere out there in that white space as well, and really kind of captured the color leadership story, because no one really had the courage to choose something so neutral as white at any point in the past. And with that, we immediately landed the cover of Architectural Digest. And within the first 30 days, we were published in every major publication talking about our color leadership story, about Benjamin Moore as a design leader in color, and really kind of set the tone for where the brand was going in terms of elevating our position. On day one, we had over 500,000 impressions in our social channels by 11 o'clock. 75% of our new visitors to the website were visitors that were coming from social channels out of Color of the Year announcement. We had digital placements, we had coordinated placements with all of the top publications, and coordinated those in a way that we could keep it confidential, but they were also on the newsstands within 2 days after we announced Color of the Year. So a lot of hard work, a lot of coordination, but the impact was massive for the brand. Same point in time, we had this target customer who just is coming to the paint store to look for paint for their home. And there was a whole nother challenge that we had with that customer, because the notion of this color myth is alive and well in the paint industry. And the color myth is really a story about defining what paint is. And the competitive set would like you to believe nothing more than color is, or paint is nothing more than color on the wall. And if you accept that premise, then you accept that paint is a commoditized offering. And if paint's a commoditized offering, why should I pay more for yours? What's that premium brand about? And why should I drive out of my way to come to your store when I'm going to be at Home Depot already? So the color myth really is the story that was proliferating the marketplace in all of marketing by the competitors that suggested that, you know, Behr equals Benjamin Moore equals Sherwin-Williams, when in reality, while they may be the same color, the performance is quite different. And you can't get the performance of a Ferrari if you're driving the Yugo. So we really wanted to take that message and create a national campaign to proliferate the differentiator of our brand and that highest quality story to the marketplace. We had some challenges there because we had not been very active in national media. The voice, share of voice, was dominated by several brands ahead of us that were spending more telling customers that paint is nothing more than color on the wall. So we made a major commitment that we were going to have the dominant voice. And in 2015, we launched the largest national campaign in the company's history, and we committed to a $50 million national campaign to tell our story. So what was that story? It was really a story that had a bit of a two-pronged approach, with the first piece of that being about product innovation, telling the highest quality story, the brand attributes of highest quality and product differentiation, with the second piece of that then really turning our retailers into the hero and talking about the in-store experience, the expertise that you could get only at a Benjamin Moore store. And we divided the campaign into these two elements. So with that, when we made the announcement, obviously, we hit the news again. Cover of Adweek, and Adweek talks about us debuting the biggest campaign ever, a $50 million effort. I can assure you, when you're spending $50 million, it better be an investment, not an expense or an effort. And we approached it that way, with very measurable, very quantifiable structure in place to measure the efficacy of that effort. So a little bit about the creative concept that we went to market with.
We thought this would be a great place to actually scale up the method that Benjamin Moore uses to test the paint. So make it epic. Like, instead of testing under the microscope in the lab, we're going to take the elements out to the barn and test in a big, massive scale. And we're going to make guns that fire through the wall rather than scrape away the tiny little thing in the lab.
Would the Benjamin Moore test style is epic and it's real, but it's also human and it's whoa.
Once you
So we had a little bit of fun along the way, and we got ready to launch the product side of the campaign that we titled Feats of Can. And in that side of the campaign, we made a commitment that we were not going to talk about paint as color. We were going to talk about the performance attributes that differentiated Benjamin Moore from the rest of the marketplace. So in doing so, we produced a series of commercial spots that were aired nationally.
If you want a paint that's more than just easy to scrub, if you want a paint that actually repels dirt and grime, if you want a paint that stands up to life's wear and tear, only this can. Regal Select from Benjamin Moore. Paint like no other.
Nothing about color. And another unique target audience that we wanted to go after around sustainability, around no VOC, environmental friendliness. Hold on just a second, I hit the wrong button there.
If you want to paint with no harsh fumes, if you want to paint without harmful chemicals, if you want to paint that's safer for your family and the environment, only this can. Natura from Benjamin Moore. Paint like no other.
And then a story around durability.
If you want a paint that's tough enough to protect from the elements, if you want a paint flexible enough to survive the subtle cracking of time, if you want a paint that gives you a lifetime warranty, only this can. Aura Exterior from Benjamin Moore. Paint like no other.
We had some specialty paint that was unique to certain geography where there's a proliferation of vinyl-sided homes in some communities, and the notion that you couldn't do anything to change the color of your vinyl-sided home. We created a paint specifically for that.
If you want a paint that's specifically designed to stick to vinyl siding, if you want a paint that says your home's color is not set in stone, if you want a paint that finally gives you the freedom of expression, only this can. Revive from Benjamin Moore. Paint like no other.
So through the process, I think we got in the consumer's mind, differentiated our brand position, and did so at a point in time when the consumer was beginning to think about their upcoming paint projects. The point in time when they were really ready to make a purchase, we launched the other side of the campaign to really talk about the store experience and compare and contrast the in-store experience at Benjamin Moore relative to, say, big box retail where you might otherwise go. Not to suggest that big box retail doesn't have experts, but in the process we used a couple of puppets that some consumers referred to as dummies, and that was their choice, not ours.
Hey, can you recommend the safest kind of paint for a baby's room?
So you basically want to make your baby's room safe. Got it.
Start with bubble wrap, aisle 7.
Or insulation, you just put that on the walls for cushion.
Oh, goggles.
Got to protect the eyes.
Because babies blink so slow. It's like this.
Kind of creepy.
If you're not talking to your Benjamin Moore retailer, who are you talking to? Because only an authorized Benjamin Moore retailer can give you expert advice and premium Benjamin Moore paint to get the job done right. Benjamin Moore. Paint like no other.
we had a couple commercials in that series of similar ilk that were somewhat equally effective in terms of, just kind of suggesting, why are you really buying your paint from this department in a store where the guy working behind the counter probably just learned what he's sharing with you the couple hours before. So
hey, you guys know anything about staining a deck?
A deck?
A backyard deck.
You gonna paint it?
You want to stain it?
He wants to stain it.
The deck. Oh, that's a Jerry question.
Yeah, Jerry's your man.
So can I talk to Jerry?
No, he doesn't work here anymore.
Deck stain Jerry.
Good guy. Not a great nickname.
If you're not talking to your Benjamin Moore retailer, who are you talking to? Because only an authorized Benjamin Moore retailer can give you expert advice and premium Arbor Coat stain to get the job done right. Benjamin Moore, paint like no other.
So through the approach, we really kind of poked some fun at, but also elevated the brand attributes, and conveyed the message around color leadership with our Color of the Year event. We talked about highest quality with our product attribution, and then we talked about the in-store experience and how you could find better expertise inside of a Benjamin Moore store. Once again, we kind of hit the newsstand, and we're the talk of marketing publications. So simultaneous to that, we were starting to think about, where else do we go? How do we leverage this brand position to find unique and different audiences? And looking at our strategic partnerships, we started categorizing them into the design community with Candace Olson and Gluckstein, Brian Gluckstein Home, with other non-competitive category brands who shared similar customers as us, with Cambria, Colonial Williamsburg, Cravat, and Kohler. We had an audience that we believe really gravitated to sports and wanted to do some sports marketing around those consumers. And we initially set out to also try to appeal to a younger demographic. And so as a result of that, we landed signed a deal with a company called Paint Zen, and really entered the disruptive business model of paint. I'll let you look it up on your own time, but Paint Zen had a launch and a mission to become the Uber of the paint industry. So in large metro markets, you can go online, you can shop for paint, shop for color, get your job quoted, get it scheduled, you go to work the next day, and you come home, your room is painted for you. So Paint Zen is really bringing together the contractor, the retailer, using disruptive technologies like Uber, like TaskRabbit, to bring delivery right to your home and deliver a service that's uniquely different than any other in the marketplace. So pretty interesting disruptive model, entering a new category for us. Growing up, I always had this dream that one day I might make SportsCenter's top 10. Didn't think it would be with a campaign, but as it turned out, we made SportsCenter's top 10 with a campaign that we ran through sports marketing. We were the official paint of both the New York Yankees and the Boston Red Sox, a huge rivalry. We chose to go to 21st and 3rd in the middle of Manhattan and build Fenway's Green Monster in the middle of Manhattan. Put a mic behind the wall so that we could have a talking wall with Frank Caliendo messing with people as they're walking up and down the street, and capture the cameo. I wish I could show you the outtakes. They're even better than what we did.
Let's go Red Sox, let's go Red Sox. Turn around, look at me. Yeah, I'm here. I'm the Green Monster.
What are you doing here in New York?
Driving people crazy.
You're in the wrong city, buddy.
Hashtag I don't care.
New York, not Boston. I don't know how they put you here.
Right.
In this city.
Right. Can I spit on you?
I dare you. I do. Yeah. Maybe you should do your bedroom in Green Monster. Would you like that? I could come over. Hey, don't let those dogs pee on me. Go ahead, get out of here. What do you think when I say the words 2004?
2004.
Say it. Say it!
I can't.
I'm joking. I'm joking.
Were you choking on a pretzel?
Hit it.
Get out of here.
Sore loser. Oh, now you're doing it. That's it. That's what the wall likes. You got it. Oh, great catch. Hey, listen. If I can make it here, I can make it anywhere.
You should go back to Boston.
Take care of you, too. All right. 2004.
So for every can of Green Monster paint we sold that went on the wall, we sold about 2 others that went on the trophy case or on the mantle. People are passionate about their teams and strong emotional connection. Along the way through our research, we met this beautiful family that have a great story. They were both in the concession business when they were kids at Fenway Park. They met there, and a little bit of their story. So you can see how they've chosen to paint their home. Fun stuff. Again, huge digital campaign. We got a call from the owner of the Red Sox, and they are now playing the talking wall on the Jumbotron at every home game. Nice reach out of that. So we've reached over 10 million people with that campaign in the digital space. Again, a lot of the free press coverage that we got, or earned press coverage, I should say. And then, started to explore, where do you go next in sports marketing? And as I was just leaving the brand, we're in the process of launching the university collection. So really kind of took this to a new level to attract both the younger demographic and create that emotional connection to the brand again through what matters to the consumer. So we identified 5 major universities that had the largest fan base, the largest alumni associations, and also kind of cross-section of where Benjamin Moore was in the marketplace to make this launch and bring this to market. So it's coming soon. So again, $50 million investment, $300,000 party, better not be an expense, better be an investment. So did it work?
When you've got paint this good, you want people to react. Not like this. Wow. But like this. Or this. Read better. This. And in 2015, that's what we did. We got reactions with our largest media spend ever. So more people saw us. This paint, and this paint. Our people too, so know where to get it. And where not to get it. You just made that up. Okay. You wanted to see our name up here, and here. No, not there. Where everyone can see it. Over 100 million customers across North America. In all the shows they watch. too. We made it something really worth cheering about. With Green Monster even making SportsCenter's top 10. And we didn't forget they were online too. That's the way we got people talking, posting, tweeting, Instagramming. Interesting. Is that even a word? Doesn't matter. It's working. We saw a 3,936% increase in retailer tag spots, 164% increase in dealer confidence, a $9 million sales increase for retailers with tag TV spots. And we're going to do it again next year. Even more presence with new TV work, branded content, and bigger media partnerships. So we get bigger reactions, better reactions, more reactions than ever. Welcome to 2016, the year we paint like no other.
So there's a bit of a mantra in retail that you know, if you have a restaurant and you serve bad food, the last thing you want to do is advertise. So simultaneous to this process, if you remember what the stores looked like, there was an effort to refresh what's a fashion brand look like for paint, and how do you launch an in-store experience that really becomes an interior design centric fashion experience in a paint store. For us, it was really kind of exploring new space, and we chose to launch that in the global markets where the notion of a premium American brand held such appeal, and that it could reside, in this case, 2 doors down from Gucci. So mall-based stores that are really become fashion destinations. China, look at the store experience of some of what you're seeing here compared to the paint store that I showed you earlier at the beginning of the presentation. Have you been to a fashion paint store quite like that? Again, mall-based in China. We launched you know, these great vignettes where people really get a chance to experience that color in real life, how it comes together, the quality of the product, and that customer experience. We launched in Dubai. We launched in South Korea. So again, whether it was in testing multiple store designs, but doing so with this elevated customer experience and brand experience, with the notion that paint should in fact be the fashion destination for your home, and that store experience should reflect that brand position. So all in all, that's kind of the story of Benjamin Moore and a transformation of the brand. So with that, I'll open it up to any questions that anyone might have. Thank you.